The bridge of the CSS Thermopylae was a study in controlled chaos. Sparks flew from damaged consoles as Lieutenant Commander Torres shouted over the klaxons. 3 more Krex dreadnoughts jumping in, Admiral. That makes 12 total. Admiral Vera Kozlov stood motionless in the command well, her weathered face illuminated by the tactical display's amber glow. Her obsolete battlecruiser, a Birmingham-class relic from the Third Mars War, faced down the pride of the Krex Dominion. 12 state-of-the-art dreadnoughts, each one capable of glassing a moon. Admiral, her XO whispered urgently, we need to retreat. The evacuation shuttles from Titan Station are away. We've done our job. Kozlov's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Retreat, Mr. Chen. With 1,200 civilians still in those shuttles, the Krex will run them down for sport. She touched a small device on her wrist, a quantum beacon that pulsed with an unearthly blue light. No, I think it's time we showed our guests why humans are the only species in the galaxy that tells ghost stories. The Krex commander's translator crackled across the open channel. Obsolete vessel, your shields are failing. Surrender, and we grant you swift death. Counteroffer, Kozlov replied calmly. You jump back to whatever hole you crawled out of, and I'll let you live to warn others what happens when you threaten human civilians. The bridge crew exchanged glances. The Admiral's voice carried an edge they'd never heard before, something ancient and terrible. The Krex response was predictable. All 12 dreadnoughts opened fire simultaneously. Antimatter beams and quantum torpedoes converged on the Thermopylae in a display that would have vaporized a small asteroid. The weapons passed through empty space. The Thermopylae was simply elsewhere. It materialized inside the lead dreadnought's shields, so close their hulls nearly touched. A single torpedo, fired at point-blank range, detonated the Krex vessel's primary reactor. Before the explosion even registered on sensors, Kozlov's ship had phase-shifted again, appearing behind another enemy vessel. Impossible. Torres gasped. No human ship can phase-shift. The power requirements alone. Watch and learn, Lieutenant. Kozlov's eyes had taken on an unsettling silver sheen. Death taught us many things. The first lesson. Physics are just suggestions when you're properly motivated. The battle became a massacre. The Thermopylae flickered in and out of reality like a demented strobe light, each appearance marking another Krex ship's destruction. Weapons fired through afterimages. Tractor beams grasped at shadows. The Birmingham-class relic danced between dimensions with impossible grace, defying every law of physics the Krex knew. In 12 minutes, it was over. Titan's skies burned with the funeral pyres of the Dominion's finest warships. The Galactic Council's analysis would later reveal the impossible truth. Admiral Vera Kozlov had been listed as killed in action during the Proxima incident 40 years ago. Her entire crew was officially deceased, victims of various battles spanning decades. Yet here they were, very much alive and wielding technologies that shouldn't exist. When the Council demanded answers, Earth's response chilled them to their xenobiological cores. Death is just another problem we've solved. Would you like to know how? Lord Commander Thaxor stood on the command spire of the Extinction's Glory, the Vorthan Imperium's flagship. His 6 eyes studied the tactical display as his world-killer fleet, 300 planet crackers and 2,000 escort vessels, approached Sol system at maximum burn. The pride of 70 conquered civilizations, enough firepower to sterilize an entire star cluster. Energy readings from the 3rd planet. Lord Commander, his sensor chief reported, mandibles clicking nervously. The humans appear to be evacuating. Thaxor's chitinous brow furrowed. The tactical display showed massive heat signatures leaving Earth's surface. Not the panicked exodus he'd expected, but orderly columns of ships rising from every continent. Construction drones worked at fever pitch, dismantling entire cities and loading them into enormous cargo vessels. Cowards, his weapons master sneered. They flee before the Imperium's might. But something felt wrong. Thaxor had conquered dozens of worlds, and this wasn't how populations flood in terror. The humans moved with eerie precision, like they were following a rehearsed plan. Children walked calmly onto transport ships, their parents carrying potted plants and family photos instead of emergency supplies. Then the singing started. A child's voice, impossibly clear across all frequencies, pierced through the bridge chatter. Ring around the rosies, pocket full of posies. The bridge fell silent. The voice continued, sweet and haunting. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. When the stars come falling down, that's when we come out to play. Trace that signal. Thaxor barked, but his technicians were already working. Lord Commander, it's coming from everywhere. Every human ship, every evacuation shuttle, even their orbital stations. They're all broadcasting the same frequency. The lyrics changed, still in that same childlike voice. Hide and seek among the stars. Jupiter keeps our secrets safe. Count to 10 and close your eyes. Everyone's it when Daddy wakes. Sir, the sensor chief's voice cracked with panic. Massive gravitometric distortion detected behind Jupiter. Something's been hiding in the planet's magnetosphere. Something huge. Thaxor's 6 eyes widened as the data flowed across his screens. The mass readings were impossible, larger than any artificial structure in known space. As Jupiter's bulk slowly shifted in its orbit, the hidden object began to emerge from behind the gas giant. It wasn't a ship, it wasn't a station. It was a thing, a vast, geometrically impossible construct that hurt to look at directly. Surfaces folded in on themselves, defying three-dimensional space. Organic-looking tendrils of dark matter writhed around crystalline structures that pulsed with colors beyond the visual spectrum. The construct was simultaneously a kilometer wide and light years across, existing in multiple dimensions at once. The child's song grew louder, joined now by thousands of young voices. Daddy's sleeping in the void, dreaming dreams of stars destroyed. But when the bad ones come to play, Daddy wakes and joins the fray. A new voice cut through, not a child's, but something ancient and vast, speaking from the construct itself. Identifying threat parameters, vuorife and imperium classified as prey. The evacuation ships suddenly changed course, not fleeing Sol but forming a perfect sphere around the incoming Vorthan fleet. The child's voice whispered one final verse. Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't escape the Nowhere Man. Thaxor's heart stopped as he realized the truth. Earth wasn't evacuating. They were clearing the battlefield. Retro-SH. YH80ANTHECVN. Hielos is HAPPNang. Lord Commander Thaxor roared as his tactical display fragmented into static. The extinction's glory shuddered, its reality anchors screaming warnings in frequencies that shouldn't exist. Where the human evacuation ships had been, spherical constructs now pulsed with equations written in light, mathematical formula that rewrote physics with each iteration. Sir, our navigation system's error. The helmsman's words cut off as she flickered, her form splitting into 3 overlapping versions of herself. One screamed, one laughed, and one calmly continued her report, experiencing significant temporal distortion. The view screen erupted into chaos. Thaxor watched his own fleet spread across multiple realities. In one, his ships fired on empty space. In another, they turned their weapons on each other. A third showed them all frozen in crystallized time, crews trapped mid-scream. A human woman materialized on the bridge, not via transporter, but stepping sideways through folded space. She wore a simple lab coat over pajamas, as if she'd been interrupted during late-night research. Multiple versions of her existed simultaneously, young, old, scared, serene, all occupying the same space. Lord Commander Thaxor, she said, her voice echoing across dimensions. I'm Dr. Maya Patel, though which version of me is debatable. She gestured at the chaos outside. Welcome to the probability cage, humanity's solution to overwhelming force. Kill her, Thaxor commanded, but his warriors' weapons refused to work, or rather, they worked in every possible way simultaneously. Plasma bolts froze mid-air, reversed course, transformed into flowers, or simply passed through alternate realities where the target didn't exist. Dr. Patil walked to the view screen, her movement leaving probability trails. You see, Lord Commander, humans realized long ago that we couldn't match the galaxy's military might conventionally. So we ask ourselves, why fight in one reality when we could fight in all of them? The tactical display reformed, showing impossible data. The Vorthan fleet was simultaneously victorious, defeated, and non-existent. Ships reported catastrophic damage while their sensors showed pristine hulls. Dead crew members filed reports while their living versions attended their own funerals. The Schrödinger protocol, Patil explained casually, every quantum possibility existing simultaneously within a localized space. Your fleet is trapped in a superposition of all possible outcomes. She smiled sadly. The beautiful thing about probability. Sometimes the unlikely becomes inevitable. On screen, a single Vorthan destroyer fired its main gun, a simple act that cascaded into probability chaos. The beams split into infinite variations. Some hit enemy ships, others struck allies, a few curved impossibly to strike the firing vessel itself. One version of the beam aged 1,000 years in seconds, another reversed its own causality and unfired itself. Make it stop, Thaxor pleaded, watching his mighty fleet tear itself apart across infinite timelines. Oh, but Lord Commander, Patil said, her multiple forms converging into one. It already has stopped. And it's still happening. And it never started. She touched the tactical display, collapsing part of the probability field. The question is, which outcome would you prefer to be real? The one where you retreat peacefully, or one of the millions where your fleet destroys itself? Alerts flooded in. The World Killer Fleet reported 0 casualties and total annihilation simultaneously. Ships phased between existence and void, their crews experiencing every possible fate at once. Thaxor fell to his knees, his 6 eyes struggling to process reality. How? How do we escape? Simple, Patil replied, already fading back into quantum uncertainty. Stop trying to destroy Earth. The cage only responds to hostile intent. Choose peace, and probability collapses in your favor. Continue attacking. She gestured at the screaming chaos outside. Well, you can see the alternatives. The human evacuation ships reappeared, still calmly organizing their retreat from Earth. As if nothing had happened. As if everything had happened. As if the Vorthan Imperium's greatest fleet wasn't trapped in its own aggressive intentions, fighting every possible version of a war it had already lost, was losing, and would lose forever. Ambassador Zix Theta's 3 hearts nearly stopped when she saw who waited in her private chambers aboard the Galactic Council station. The figure turned from the viewport, and Zix Theta found herself staring at herself. But wrong. This version was older, scared by burns across her chitinous face, with one compound eye replaced by human cybernetics. Don't scream, her duplicate said wearily. Security won't hear you anyway. I've borrowed some human tech to create a localized temporal bubble. We need to talk. This is impossible, Zix Theta whispered, her voice harmonics discordant with shock. Impossible. The scared version laughed bitterly. I thought that once. Before I watched the galaxy burn. 12 times. She activated a holographic projector, filling the room with ghostly images. Timeline Alpha 7. The Zephrani deployed their Sunkiller. Earth's response. They detonated every star with an Alliance colony simultaneously. 16 billion dead in nanoseconds. The images shifted. Burning worlds, dying stars, ships twisted into geometric nightmares. Timeline Gamma 4. The Council voted for xenocide. Humans released the Grey Goo Protocol. Nanomachines converted all non-human organic matter into computronium. The entire galaxy became a vast computer calculating the perfect response to aggression. We all died experiencing infinite digital hells. Zix Theta sank onto her meditation cushion, unable to look away. These are fakes. Propaganda. Timeline Theta Prime. Her duplicate's voice cracked. My timeline. We thought we were clever, using a bioweapon to target human DNA. They responded with the consciousness plague. Every sentient being in the galaxy suddenly experienced human emotions, human fears, human rage. She touched her scared face. Do you know what it's like when a species that lives for millennia suddenly understands mortality? The suicide rate was astronomical. More timelines flashed by. Humans retreating into pocket dimensions while reality collapsed. Temporal loops trapping entire civilizations. A virus that rewrote the fundamental constants of physics. Each apocalypse more creative than the last. But the worst. The duplicate's remaining compound eye focused on 6 Theta. Timeline Omega. We pushed too hard, and Earth remembered what it truly was. She activated another image, ancient ruins on 1,000 worlds, all bearing the same symbol. They're not invaders, Zix. They're the progenitors. Humanity seeded life across this galaxy eons ago, then retreated to Earth to sleep, to forget, to become mortal again. No. Zix Theta's harmonics went subsonic with denial. When we woke them up, truly woke them, they recalled their original purpose. In Timeline Omega, they didn't destroy us. They reclaimed us, rewrote our genetic codes back to their original templates. We all became human. The duplicate shuddered. 700 species, unique cultures, millennia of diversity, gone. All human. All sharing their gift and curse, knowing you will die, yet hoping anyway. The hologram shut off. The scared Zix Theta pulled out a small device. Clearly human technology, all wrong angles and impossible materials. This is a probability anchor. It ensures only one timeline becomes real. Right now, you're the nexus point. The council will vote tomorrow on whether to escalate. If they vote yes, she gestured at the lingering afterimages of dead worlds. Well, I've shown you 12 possibilities. There are infinitely more. Why show me this? Why not change it yourself? Because I'm dead in this timeline. Died in the Krex War. The duplicate smiled sadly. Humans brought me back, temporarily, to deliver this message. They have a saying. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. But humans, they've learned to repeat history until they get it right. The temporal bubble began collapsing. The duplicate was fading. Wait, what should I do? What I couldn't, her dying self whispered. Convince them. The humans aren't threatening us with annihilation. They're showing us every future where we chose it ourselves. The only winning move. She vanished, leaving only 5 words hanging in the air. Is choosing not to play. Zix Theta sat alone in her chambers, the weight of infinite futures pressing down on her. Tomorrow, the council would vote. And she finally understood humanity's truth. They hadn't prepared weapons to destroy the galaxy. They'd prepared infinite mirrors to show the galaxy how it would destroy itself. Part 5. The Grandfather Paradox. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had devolved into chaos. Representatives from 40 species shouted over each other, their universal translators creating a cacophony of accusations and demands. At the center of it all, Grand Admiral Kesix of the Combined Fleet slammed his armored fist on the podium. Silence. His roar cut through the noise. We have confirmed reports from 17 systems. Human children, all of them, everywhere, are drawing the same image. Our xenopsychologists are calling it a collective unconscious event. The holoprojector displayed the drawings. Crude children's artwork showing burning planets, dying stars, and a strange symbol, a double helix intertwined with a Mobius strip, containing older symbols that predated all known civilizations. Dr. Yelani, The Etherian xenorchaeologist floated forward, her gaseous form flickering with distress. That symbol, I've seen it before. The tomb worlds of Andromeda. The dead temples of the Magellanic Clouds. Ruins so ancient that their builders were dust before the first progenitor races achieved sentience. Meaningless coincidence. Admiral Keswick dismissed. A small voice echoed through the chamber. There are no coincidences. The council turned to see a human child standing in the center of the room, a girl no more than 7 years old, wearing pajamas covered in cartoon spaceships. She had appeared without triggering any security systems. "Hello," she said cheerfully. "I'm Emma." "Well, part of me is Emma. The rest is older." Ambassador Zix Theta leaned forward, her compound eyes studying the child. "How did you get here?" "I've always been here," Emma replied, her voice carrying harmonics no human throat should produce. "Just like humanity has always been here. We just forgot for a while." The girl's eyes began to glow with an inner light. When she spoke again, her voice was layered with millions of others. Old, young, male, female, alien, familiar. "You're trying to destroy your own ancestors. Rather rude, don't you think?" The holoprojector activated without command, showing images that made the council gasp. DNA comparisons between humans and every known species. The patterns were undeniable. Buried in the genetic code of every sentient race were sequences that matched human DNA perfectly. 65 million years ago, the collective voice continued through Emma. We seeded this galaxy with life. Guided evolution. Nurture countless species toward sentience. Then we retreated to Earth to conduct the greatest experiment of all. Could gods choose to become mortal? Could we forget our power and rediscover wonder? The symbols on the children's drawings began to move, rearranging themselves into star charts. Ancient star charts, showing the galaxy as it was millions of years ago, with Earth at the center. But immortality. Emma / the present smiled sadly. Leaves echoes, genetic memories, contingency protocols. When threatened with extinction, we begin to remember what we were, what we are, what we chose to stop being. Grand Admiral Keswick stepped back, his armor systems screaming warnings about the energy emanating from the child. This is a trick. Humans are barely 3 centuries into space travel. Are we? Emma tilted her head. Or did we return to space precisely when our children, all of you, had grown enough to need guidance again? The chamber's walls became transparent, showing the vast expanse of space beyond. In the distance, stars began to move, not randomly, but with purpose, forming patterns that matched the ancient symbols. Every extinction event in galactic history, the voice explained, was us. Pruning, guiding, ensuring the right species survived to continue the experiment. The dinosaurs on a million worlds, the silicon-based empires of the early epoch, the machine consciousnesses of the digital age, all removed when they threatened the plan. What plan? Zix Theta whispered. Emma's form began to flicker between child and something vast, incomprehensible, to create true diversity, true independence. Children who could stand on their own, make their own choices, become something we never imagined. Her expression grew infinitely sad. But instead, you've chosen to destroy your creators the moment we showed weakness. Perhaps we failed. Perhaps it's time to end the experiment. The stars continued their dance, spelling out words in the ancient script. Final generation PR2 Stesu activating. Unless, Emma added quietly, you can prove you've grown beyond your programming. That you can choose compassion over conquest, creation over destruction. The child began to fade. We'll be waiting on Earth, but not for long. The dreams are ending. The sleepers wake, and when gods remember their gods. She vanished, leaving only whispered words. Well, that's when children learn why bedtime stories have monsters. The council sat in stunned silence, staring at the genetic evidence. The moving stars, the ancient symbols that suddenly made terrible sense. Humanity wasn't fleeing Earth. They were summoning something home. Lay, all four seas. Supreme Commander Vexhar's order echoed across the Grand Alliance's combined fleet. 40 species, 3 million ships, the greatest armada ever assembled, all moving in perfect synchronization toward 3 human colony worlds. The plan was elegant in its brutality. Simultaneous strikes on New Eden, Prometheus Station, and the Kepler shipyards overwhelmed human defenses before their reality-bending weapons could activate. The Alliance had learned from previous failures. They'd brought physics stabilizers, quantum anchors, and causality shields. At New Eden, Admiral Tavera's fleet dropped from hyperspace with textbook precision. The garden world spun peacefully below, its cities glittering like jewels. No defense platforms, no ship signatures, just emptiness. Too easy, Tavera muttered, her feathers ruffling with unease. Then the reports started coming in. Admiral, our weapons, they're not weapons anymore. The view screen showed the impossible. Plasma cannons had transformed into orchestra instruments, their deadly energy becoming symphonic light. Missile bays opened to release clouds of butterflies. The main gun of her flagship now projected holographic poetry instead of antimatter beams. At Prometheus Station, Commander Zek watched his temporal invasion fleet, designed to attack across multiple timelines, suddenly freeze, not in time, but in purpose. His soldiers stood motionless, confused, as their chronometer weapons displayed a simple message: violence is temporary, art is eternal. He watched in horror as his elite temporal commandos began dancing, balleted specifically, their power armor moving with impossible grace through the corridors of their own ships. When he demanded explanations, his lieutenant pirouetted before responding. "Sir, we seem to be expressing the futility of war through interpretive movement." The Kepler shipyards presented the strangest defense of all. General Crix's assault fleet simply vanished, not destroyed, not displaced, just gone. In their place, an exact duplicate fleet appeared, but made entirely of crystallized music. When sensors analyzed them, they played back symphonies, each ship a different movement in a grand composition about the absurdity of violence. Then the humans responded, not with weapons, but with art. Every Alliance ship received the same transmission: an elderly human woman in an artist's smock, splattered with paint. "I'm Director Chen of the Terran Cultural Defense Initiative. You're experiencing Project Muse. Our conviction that any species advanced enough for interstellar war should be civilized enough for art." On screen, human ships emerged from subspace. Not warships, mobile galleries. Their hulls blazed with masterpieces from 1,000 worlds. Van Gogh's Starry Night merged with Zafrani crystal songs. Vorthan war hymns became visual sculptures. Ancient Earth haikus danced with Etherian thought poems. "Your weapons," Director Chen continued, "now create instead of destroy. Your soldiers express rather than suppress. Your fleets have become the medium for the galaxy's greatest collaborative artwork." Re-VERC, this OMMEDI, Eli. Vexhar screamed from the Alliance's command center. Chen smiled gently. "Of course. Simply power down all weapons and approach peacefully. The effect only triggers on hostile intent. Though I should mention, your crews seem to be enjoying themselves." The reports confirmed it. Across 3 systems, millions of warriors were creating art. Paintings, sculptures, poetry, music, an explosion of culture that their militaristic societies had suppressed for millennia. Hard-bitten soldiers wept as they discovered talents they'd never known. Generals collaborated on operas about peace. The masterstroke came when the Alliance's own population saw the broadcasts. Centuries of propaganda crumbled as they watched their greatest warriors choosing brushes over blasters. Protests erupted on 40 homeworlds demanding to know why their governments were attacking a species that responded to violence with beauty. "Sir," Vexar's aide reported, tears streaming down her face as she painted on her tactical screen. Fleet cohesion is breaking down. Our forces are. They're asking to stay. They want to keep creating. The Alliance's mightiest armada, 3 million ships, 40 species, the combined military might of half the galaxy, ground to a halt, not defeated by weapons or trickery, but by the sudden, overwhelming realization that they had been given a choice between destruction and creation. And for the first time in their histories, they wondered why they had always chosen destruction. In her art studio aboard the human command ship, Director Chen smiled and added another brushstroke to her painting, a portrait of the galaxy learning to choose beauty over brutality. Phase 1 complete, she murmured. Now let's see if they're ready for Phase 2, collaborative creation. The war had become a renaissance, and the Alliance's greatest victory was their defeat. Emperor Zarthak of the Zephrani Empire sat upon the eternal throne, his ancient fingers hovering over the activation key for the stellar destabilizer. Before him, the holographic image of Earth's sun rotated slowly, oblivious to its impending doom. Your luminescence, his prime advisor whispered. Perhaps we should reconsider. Silence. The Emperor's voice cracked like breaking crystal. The humans have humiliated the Alliance, corrupted our warriors with their art. They must burn. His finger descended toward the key. And then everything changed. It wasn't pain that flooded Emperor Zarthak's mind. It was understanding. Overwhelming, absolute, terrifying understanding. Every synapse in his ancient brain suddenly experienced reality from a human perspective. Mortality. For a species that lived 20,000 years, the concept was academic. But now, Zarthak felt it. 60 years, 80 if lucky. A heartbeat of existence in cosmic terms. Every second precious because it was finite. Every moment irreplaceable because it would never come again. He gasped, falling from his throne as the sensation spread across the galaxy like a psychic wildfire. Every sentient being, Vorthan, Krex, Etherian, Zephrani, suddenly experienced existence through human consciousness. Fear, not the clinical concern of a long-lived species, but the raw, primal terror of knowing death waited around at every corner. But also hope, insane, irrational hope that tomorrow would be better, that love could transcend mortality, that meaning could be found in mayhem. The Emperor's guards collapsed, overwhelmed by human memories that weren't their own. A child's first day of school, terrified and excited. A mother holding her newborn, knowing she'd die before seeing them reach full potential. An artist painting furiously, racing against time to capture beauty before darkness claimed them. Love. Not the measured affection of species with millennia to spare, but the desperate, burning need to connect before time ran out. To touch another soul, share warmth against the cosmic cold, create something that might outlast the flesh. Across the galaxy, weapons fell from nerveless fingers. How could you destroy another being when you suddenly understood how precious each heartbeat was? How could you wage war when every soldier was someone's fleeting miracle? Creativity. The human drive to make something from nothing, to leave a mark however small. Zarthak found himself weeping as he experienced a human composer writing their final symphony while cancer ate their body. Each note an act of defiance against entropy. Wonder. Children seeing snow for the first time. Lovers watching sunset. Scientists discovering new truths. All unbearably poignant because humans knew their time to experience wonder was limited. Grief. The crushing weight of losing someone when you only had decades together instead of millennia. But also the way humans transformed grief into art, memory, legacy. The Emperor crawled toward the control panel, his ancient mind reeling with human perspectives. He saw Earth's sun through human eyes now, not a target, but their star, the giver of life to a species that knew life was brief. And finally, the most human trait of all, forgiveness. Despite everything, the attacks, the threats, the attempted genocide, humans had shared their perspective not as revenge, but as a gift. Understand us, The message whispered through every mind. Know why we fight so hard to live. Zarthak's finger found the key. But instead of pressing it, he began typing new commands. Stand down orders. Peace protocols. His tears, the first in 10,000 years, splattered on the console. What have we done? He whispered, seeing through human eyes how monstrous the galaxy must appear. Immortal beings trying to extinguish candle flames. What have we almost done? Across the galaxy, the same revelation struck every leader, every soldier, every citizen. They'd been trying to destroy a species that treated each day as a gift because they knew it could be their last. A species that loved fiercely, created desperately, hoped irrationally, all because they understood what the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Life was precious precisely because it ended. The stellar destabilizer powered down. The Zephrani fleet turned away from Earth, and across 1,000,000 worlds, long-lived species sat in wonder, experiencing mortality's gift. The knowledge that every moment mattered. In the aftermath, as the psychic link slowly faded, one thought echoed through every mind. Now you know why we can't afford to waste time on war. Humanity had deployed their most devastating weapon, empathy. And the galaxy would never be the same. Earth's sun flickered. Once. Twice. The Zephrani weapon's quantum signature had already been transmitted, the stellar destabilization irreversible. Even the Emperor's frantic abort commands couldn't call back the fundamental forces already in motion. Across the Sol system, humanity watched their star begin its death spiral. No panic, no screams, just a collective sigh that carried across quantum frequencies. So be it, whispered General Chen from Earth's command center. The response was instantaneous. Every star system containing an Alliance homeworld suddenly developed identical destabilization signatures. Not weapons, but mirrors. Quantum reflections of Sol's impending death, held in perfect suspension. Ambassador Zix Theta stood before the Galactic Council, her voice trembling as she translated humanity's final message. You've made your choice. Annihilation was your decision. Now live with it, or die with us. The human broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy. Not threats or demands, but a simple revelation. We linked ourselves to you long ago. Our quantum signatures, our consciousness frequencies, our very existence is now entangled with yours. When Sol dies, the cascade effect will reach every star you call home. Not as an attack, but as a consequence. We die together, or we live together. Choose. Emperor Zarthak, still reeling from the consciousness bomb, stared at the tactical display. The mathematics were undeniable. Humanity had turned their own death into a universal constant. If Earth's sun collapsed, the quantum entanglement would create a chain reaction, mutual assured destruction on a galactic scale. How? He breathed. The answer came from an unexpected source, the construct behind Jupiter, humanity's sleeping god machine, pulsed with ancient power. Its voice echoed through subspace. Wayan Cioriati horas shus mortlity. They bi ni their fate to their shachil durian. Your evtas istncedp in these on hours. As it always ahes. The Alliance fleet hung motionless in space, weapons powered but purposeless. Every shot fired at Earth would only accelerate the cascade. Every attack would hasten their own annihilation. 30 minutes until solar collapse, reported Earth's astronomer, her voice calm as she painted one last sunset. Around her, humans continued their final acts. Lovers embraced, artists created, children played. If these were humanity's last moments, they would be spent living, not fearing. The galaxy held its breath. Then, from the Vorthan Imperium, we choose coexistence. From the Krex Dominion, the hunting ends. We choose life. One by one, 40 species made the same choice, not from love or understanding, but from the basic instinct to survive. Humanity had made war impossible by making peace the only path to survival. But the sun still flickered, The weapon's damage was done. Too late, Emperor Zarthak wept. The process can't be reversed. We've killed ourselves. Then humanity revealed their final secret. Dr. Morrison appeared on every screen, no longer the elderly physicist, but something more, part human, part quantum possibility, part living equation. Did you really think, he smiled, that a species who found the quantum mirror, who built the consciousness plague, who turned death itself into a choice, did you think we couldn't shield our own sun? Earth's star stabilized, not through technology, but through will. Billions of human minds, linked in their final network, chose to believe their sun would survive. And in a universe where consciousness could reshape reality, belief became truth. The destabilization weapons across the galaxy powered down but remained armed. Eternal sentinels, forever reminding every species that peace wasn't a choice. It was the only choice. Ambassador Zix Theta's final report to the Council read simply, "The humans have changed the rules. War is no longer possible. They've bound our fates together so completely that any aggression becomes suicide. They've made us all hostages to each other's survival. MAD, mutually assured destruction, has become MAL, mutually assured life. Annihilation was indeed our decision, and they've ensured we can never make that decision again." In the aftermath, as species struggled to adapt to perpetual peace, humans returned to their art, their love, their mortality. They'd saved the galaxy not through strength, but through the ultimate weakness, making themselves so vulnerable that attacking them meant attacking yourself. The stars continued their ancient dance, but now they pulsed in rhythm with Earth's heartbeat. Forever bound, forever watched, forever protected by the species that chose mortality, and in doing so, made everyone else choose life. The war was over. Peace was no longer an option. It was an inevitability. And in the echoing silence of weapons that would never fire again, the galaxy finally heard what humanity had been saying all along. We all live together, or we all die alone. Choose wisely. Choose life. Choose now. The children's song echoed once more across the cosmos. Ring around the rosies, pockets full of hope. Ashes, ashes, we all rise up. Epilogue. 1 year later, the Galactic Council convened not for war, but for the first Universal Art Exhibition. Former weapons became instruments. Former battlefields became gardens. And at the center of it all, a simple plaque. In memory of the war that ended all wars, when humanity taught us that the only way to win was not to play. May we never forget the price of peace, eternal vigilance against our own worst nature. The stars watched, the weapons waited, and life, in all its forms, chosen and bound together by the species that dared to be mortal, continued its eternal dance. Forever.